You wake up and for just a second, it's still there. A feeling, a place, someone's face. You were somewhere else entirely, doing something that felt completely real, and now it's slipping. You try to hold it. You lie completely still, eyes closed, reaching back into the dark. And then it's gone. Not faded, gone. Like it never happened. Like your own brain just deleted an entire experience from your life while you were still lying in bed. This happens to you almost every single night. You dream for somewhere between 1 and 2 hours every time you sleep. That's roughly 6 full years of dreaming over the course of an average lifetime. 6 years of vivid experiences, emotions, conversations, entire alternate realities, and you can recall almost none of it. Not because the dreams weren't real, not because they didn't matter, but because your brain has a system, and that system is designed to make sure you forget. What that system is, why it exists, and what it quietly says about how your memory actually works. That's what this is about. And the further in you go, the stranger it gets. If this is already making you see your mornings differently, subscribe and hit like. There's a lot more where this came from. Now let's go deeper. You have probably assumed that forgetting dreams is a passive thing. That dreams are just fragile, like smoke, and they dissolve because there is nothing strong enough to hold them. That assumption is wrong. Forgetting your dreams is not a failure of memory. It is memory working exactly as designed. Your brain is not failing to record what happened. It is actively choosing not to. The mechanism begins with a molecule called norepinephrine. During waking life, norepinephrine is present throughout your brain and plays a central role in how new memories are formed and consolidated. It is part of the architecture of learning, the chemical signal that tells your neurons this moment matters, write it down. But during REM sleep, the stage of sleep most associated with dreaming, something unusual happens. Norepinephrine production shuts off almost completely. The neurons that release it go quiet in a way they do not go quiet at any other point in your life. Researchers at the University of California, Berkeley, including neuroscientist Matthew Walker, have documented this phenomenon extensively. During REM, your brain is running complex, vivid simulations, and it is doing so in a neurochemical environment that is specifically hostile to the formation of long-term memories. The question that follows from this is obvious. Why would your brain do that? Why would it generate hours of experience every night in conditions that guarantee you will not remember them? The leading hypothesis, developed through decades of sleep research, is that REM sleep is not meant to create memories. It is meant to process them. Walker and his colleagues describe REM sleep as a kind of overnight therapy session, a space where your brain replays emotional experiences from your waking life, but strips away the emotional charge that came with them. The experience is rerun, examined, and then filed away in a calmer form. The absence of norepinephrine is what makes that possible. Without the stress hormone present, the brain can revisit difficult or intense material without re-triggering the full physiological panic response that the original event may have caused. In other words, your brain uses the dream state to do emotional maintenance. And the forgetting is not a side effect, it is the point. If you remembered every dream with the clarity of a waking memory, the system breaks. The emotional weight of 6 years of dreams would accumulate alongside your real experiences, indistinguishable from them, coloring everything. But there is a second mechanism, and this one is more precise and more recent. In 2019, researchers at the University of Tsukuba in Japan identified a specific set of neurons in the hippocampus, your brain's primary memory recording structure, that appear to actively suppress dream memories during REM sleep. These are not neurons that simply go quiet. They fire. They are doing something. And what they appear to be doing is preventing the hippocampus from encoding the content of the dream into long-term storage. It is not passive neglect. It is an active gate, and during REM sleep, that gate is closed. The hippocampus is the same structure damaged in patients with severe amnesia. It is the reason that people like Henry Mollison, the most studied amnesiac in neuroscience history, known for decades only as HM, could not form new long-term memories after surgery removed large portions of it. Without hippocampal function, nothing new sticks, and during REM sleep, your hippocampus is functionally suppressed in a way that produces the same outcome for your dreams. The content exists, your brain generates it in full, and then the gate closes and none of it passes through. This is where the science starts to become genuinely strange, because the research does not stop at the question of why you forget. It extends into what you do remember and what that reveals. Studies have consistently shown that you are most likely to remember a dream if you wake up during or immediately after a REM cycle. The transition from sleep to waking takes your brain from a norepinephrine-suppressed state to a norepinephrine-active state, and if that transition happens fast enough, the dream content that is still in short-term processing can be briefly accessible before the gate fully closes. That is the window. That is the second or two of reaching back into the dark before it disappears. Researchers have also found that the content most likely to survive that window is emotionally intense material: fear, grief, strangeness, desire. The emotional signal appears to be strong enough in some cases to partially bypass the suppression, leaving a fragment behind. This is why the dreams you do remember are rarely mundane. You do not remember the quiet ones. You remember the ones that felt like something was at stake. Harvard psychiatrist Alan Hobson, who spent decades studying dream neuroscience, proposed that the dream state represents a distinct mode of consciousness, not a lesser version of waking thought, but a different operating mode with its own rules, its own logic, and its own relationship to time and memory. One of those rules is impermanence. The dream state is not designed to leave records. It is designed to process, transform, and dissolve. There is also a deeper layer to this that most people never encounter. The same norepinephrine shutdown that prevents dream memory formation also appears to change the way your brain evaluates reality during dreams. Norepinephrine is involved not just in memory, but in critical thinking, in the cognitive process that allows you to evaluate whether something is strange, inconsistent, or impossible. With it suppressed, you lose the ability to recognize that you are dreaming. You accept flying. You accept the presence of people who are dead. You accept impossible architecture and shifting time and conversations with people you have never met as entirely ordinary. The critical filter is offline. And because the critical filter is offline, nothing in the dream triggers the alarm that would make it memorable. Nothing registers as something you need to hold on to. Your brain moves through the experience as if it is simply what is happening, not something that needs to be recorded. This is why the brief moment of recognition, the hypnopompic jolt of waking with a dream still half present, is so valuable and so rare. It is the moment the critical filter comes back online and looks at what the dream state produced and briefly, partially, treats it as something worth noting before the gate closes. Drop a comment below. Did you already sense that forgetting dreams wasn't random, or did this completely change how you see it? What this means for your everyday life is not what most people expect when they first hear it. The instinct is to feel like something is being stolen. 6 years of experience deleted. But the research suggests the opposite frame is more accurate. You are not losing the dreams, you are receiving the benefit of them, just not in the form of a memory. The emotional processing that happens during REM sleep, the overnight therapy session, the rerunning of experience without the norepinephrine storm, does not require you to remember it in order to work. The effect happens whether you recall anything or not. People who sleep through a full cycle of REM and remember nothing upon waking have still had their emotional material processed. The file was opened, worked on, and closed. You just do not have a copy. Studies from the Max Planck Institute for Human Cognitive and Brain Sciences have shown that people who get adequate REM sleep show measurably better emotional regulation the following day, regardless of whether they remember dreaming. The benefit is real, the record is not. What is more unsettling is what the research says about the people who do remember more dreams than average. Frequent dream recallers, people who wake up remembering vivid, detailed content several times a week, have been shown in studies to have higher nighttime brain activity overall, including more frequent brief awakenings that they often do not even register consciously. They are not sleeping more deeply, they are waking up slightly more often, each time catching a fragment before the gate closes. The remembering in this case is a side effect of slightly disrupted sleep. The forgetting, paradoxically, is the signature of sleep working well. If this reshapes something you thought you understood about your own mind, subscribe so you don't miss what's next. Like the video if this is the kind of content you want more of. There is something worth sitting with in all of this. Every night for hours, your brain constructs an experience. It builds places that do not exist. It populates them with people, some real and some invented. It generates emotions that feel indistinguishable from the emotions of waking life. It runs full simulations of things that never happened and things you hope never will. And then, before you even open your eyes, it systematically removes almost all of it. Not because it malfunctioned, because that was the plan. You have been having this experience every night since before you could speak. You will have it every night for the rest of your life, and almost none of it will ever reach you. So here is what stays with you after all of this. Every morning when you wake up and feel that something slipped through your fingers, that sense of having been somewhere real that is already becoming unreachable, you are not imagining it. You were somewhere real. Your brain built it for you, used it, and then took it back. The question is not whether you should try to hold on to more of it. The question is what it means that your mind is doing this much work, this much processing, this much constructing and dissolving and reconstructing, without you ever being allowed to see what it finds.